Section 2. This section demonstrates the proper use of Helica Biosystems Aflatoxin B1 assay low matrix in a variety of commodities, foods, and oils. These are the reagents provided in the kit. These are the materials required but not provided for the extraction procedure. Grinder sufficient to render a sample to particle size of fine instant coffee. Collection container, minimum 125 milliliter capacity. Balance, 20 grams measuring capability. Graduated cylinder, 100 milliliter capacity. Methanol or acetonitrile, 80 milliliter reagent grade per sample. Distilled or deionized water, 20 milliliter per sample. Filter paper, Wattman No. 1 or equivalent. Filter funnel. Please observe all recommended extraction procedures pertaining to each commodity, food, or oils. A general extraction procedure is as follows. 1. Grind a representative sample to the particle size of fine instant coffee. 2. Prepare extraction solvent, 80% methanol or 80% acetonitrile, by adding 20 milliliters of distilled or deionized water to 80 milliliters of methanol or acetonitrile for each sample to be tested. 3. Weigh out 20-gram portion of the sample and add 100 milliliter of the extraction solvent. This ratio may vary with sample type. For example, 2 grams may be used with 10 milliliter of extraction solvent. 4. Mix by shaking in a sealed container or in a blender for a minimum of 2 minutes. 5. Allow the particulate matter to settle, then filter 5 to 10 milliliter of the extract through a Wattman No. 1 filter paper or equivalent, and collect the filtrate to be tested. 6. Dilute and aliquot the extract with reconstituted wash buffer. 7. The sample is now ready. The standards require no pre-dilution before use. Assay procedure. 1. Bring all the reagents to room temperature before use. Reconstitute the PBST tween packet by washing out the contents with a gentle stream of distilled water into a 1 liter container. QS to 1 liter with distilled water and store refrigerated when not in use. 2. Place 1 mixing well in a microwell holder for each standard and sample to be tested. Place an equal number of antibody-coated microtiter wells in another microwell holder. 3. Dispense 200 microliters of the sample diluent into each mixing well. Note: for an infant or toddler milk formula samples, use the modified assay diluent supplied separately. Please ask your supplier for a free bottle of assay diluent. 4. Using a new pipette tip for each, add 100 microliters of each standard and prepared sample to appropriate mixing well containing diluent. Mix by priming pipetter at least 3 times. Note: operator must record the location of each standard and sample throughout the test. 5. Using a new pipette tip for each, transfer 100 microliter of contents from each mixing well to a corresponding antibody-coated microtiter well. Incubate at room temperature for 30 minutes. The mixing wells contain enough solution to run each standard and/or sample in duplicate if so desired. 6. Decant the contents from microwells into a discard basin. Wash the microwells by filling each with PBST tween wash buffer. Then decant the wash into a discard basin. Repeat for a total of 3 washes. 7. Tap the microwells face down on a layer of absorbent towels to remove residual water. 8. Add 100 microliters of conjugate to each antibody-coated well and incubate at ambient temperature for 30 minutes. 9. Repeat steps 6 and 7. 10. Measure the required volume of substrate reagent and place in a separate container. Add 100 microliters to each microwell. Incubate at room temperature for 10 minutes. Cover to avoid direct light. 11. Measure the required volume of stop solution and place in a separate container. Add 100 microliters in the same sequence and at the same pace as the substrate was added. 12. Read the optical density OD of each microwell with a microtiter plate reader using a 450 nanometer filter. Record the optical density of each microwell. 13. Setting the zero standard as 100% binding, B0. Calculate percent binding, %B, for each standard and sample as percentage of the zero binding, %B over B0. Interpretation of results. See extraction procedure on pages 3 and 4 of your package insert for specific applications. Construct a dose-response curve using either the unmodified OD values or the OD values expressed as a percentage %B over B0 of the OD of the 0.0 standard against the aflatoxin content of the standard. Unknowns are measured by interpolation from the standard curve. If a sample contains aflatoxin at greater than the highest standard, it should be diluted appropriately in 80% extraction solvent and retested. The extra dilution step should be taken into consideration when expressing the final result. Please refer to the package insert for all performance data.